a key part of science is making sure that there's rigor in the design and the implementation of the study. And this is particularly very important when we are training students, whether it's master students or doctoral students. It's important to instill in them the importance of rigor in research. And a key part of rigor is that you do what you said you were going to do. You don't say you do X, Y, Z, and then later on you move the goalpost just because the results weren't favoring you. And then you say, well, I think I'm going to do ABC now. And so one way we prevent that is to make sure that we register studies. When it's clinical trials, we register them with clinicaltrials.gov. I'm sure you're all familiar with clinicaltrials.gov. When it's systematic reviews, we register them with PROSPERO. PROSPERO is simply prospective register of systematic review. So the term prospective means that you have not started the literature review before you came back and registered. So you register the study first, and then you do your data extraction and review. So it's prospective in the context that you have registered a study first, and then after registering a study, you proceed with your data extraction and your review. So let's have a quick look at what PROSPERO looks like. So we're going to include the links to all of this so you can review them afterwards. But essentially, this is the link to PROSPERO. Let me drop this link here so that you can explore it together. So again, if you're doing especially if you are applying for a grant or if you're supervising students, master's or PhD, and they're going to do a systematic review, as a supervisor, it's your responsibility to ensure that such studies are properly registered and that the student does the study per protocol. And so this is what PROSPERO looks like. So you create an account if you don't have an account. If you have an account, you log into your account. It's free of charge. So to register a review, you'll click there to register. And it's pretty straightforward. Steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for example, if we are doing a systematic review of health research studies involving human beings, so you can either involve human beings or involve animals. So if it involves human beings, you click here. And then there are some questions they will ask you. Will your registration record be in English? Yes. Is this a scoping, literature, or mapping review? Well, PROSPERO does not accept any of this. If you remember from what we discussed last week, scoping reviews or mapping reviews or things of that nature are limited because they are not systematic, right? They're not systematic because there's no formal process of appraisal of the evidence. They are very arbitrary in the kind of studies that are included, and you don't have a rigid framework for inclusion or exclusion criteria. And so with these kinds of reviews, you are never sure that you have captured all the studies that are eligible. And so for that reason, PROSPERO typically will not accept studies that are here. So if you said your study is any of this, it's like, well, PROSPERO does not accept these kinds of reviews because the goal of these reviews or this database is to capture systematic reviews that are more robust in terms of the inclusion and exclusion criteria and in terms of the appraisal of the evidence. So if you say no, then it will allow you to proceed. So the next question is, does your review include a health outcome with direct relevance to human health? If you say yes, is this a Cochrane review? Well, it's not. And then, is this a mini or partial review done for a training course or classwork? Or are you using the system to learn how to register? Let's just pretend we're actually doing an actual study. So we say no. And then next it says, you should please check PROSPERO for other similar systematic reviews before you proceed to register. The goal is to avoid unnecessary redundancy or replications of existing studies. If another team or another investigator has registered a study with PROSPERO to do a systematic review of a particular topic, why are you then trying to do the exact same thing? It makes no sense. You're just essentially replicating studies that are already underway. So here we can say there are no similar reviews. And then next is, have you written a protocol? If we say yes, then let's proceed. Will more than one person be involved in a systematic review? If we say no, that does not necessarily align with the formal way of doing a systematic review. Remember that you should have the best practices. You should have at least two individuals doing a systematic review. Here, Prospero says, Prospero will not accept registrations unless there is more than one person conducting the review. So if you remember from our class last week, if you have only one person doing a systematic review, then it's not a systematic review. That's more like a rapid review. Systematic reviews have to be systematic, they have to be reproducible, and you must have at least two people who are doing the review. And then, do you intend to publish the results? You can say, yes, we intend to publish the results. Have you started your review? Now, this is a trick question. If you say yes, well, remember that Prospero is designed to, it's prospective, as the name implies, it's prospective. So if you've already started the work, then why are you registering the systematic review? So the ideal answer here should be no, that you have not started the review, so that you can then go ahead and register the study and then do your systematic review. That is why we call it, prospective. Not that it's a prospective study or a prospective cohort study, no, but in that you register your study and then you proceed with your review. So this is critical, again, especially if you're training students or if you're applying for a grant. It's just best practice to make sure that you register your study. It's free of charge. So, I mean, there's really nothing stopping you from doing your registration. If it's a clinical trial you're doing on an observational study, then you can do the same registration in clinicaltrials.gov. I'm not sure if you're familiar with clinicaltrials.gov, but again, this is the corresponding site where you register your study when it's a clinical trial, or if it's just an observational study. So even if you're doing a survey, you can also register it on clinicaltrials.gov because it has an observational arm where you can register such studies. But when it's systematic reviews, we register them in Prospero. All right, so that is that tool. So let's move on with the rest of. Now, you want to be very mindful of tools that claim to assist you with systematic reviews, because again, those tools, many of them are not robust enough. One of the hallmarks of a good engineer is making sure you're aware of the things that should be optimized and those that should not be optimized. And so the weakness of engineers who are very smart in terms of software engineering or things of automation like this, people who are typically very smart but do not have real world experience, is that they fall into the prey of optimizing that which should not be optimized. We cannot call a platform a tool for systematic reviews if it just takes one or two inputs and just run through the algorithm and just give us some results. So you want to be very, if you're using tools that claim to do systematic review for you, you want to really understand, first of all, what systematic reviews are and what they are not. So this is a tool, for example, you indicate essentially what subject area you're interested in here. You indicate how long you want to report to, and then it just does this literature review for you. Again, this is rather convenient, right? Because you are getting some results, of course, but what kind of results are you getting? Are they robust? And of course, this does not meet the guidelines or the standards for what we'll call systematic review. So, so you want to be mindful of the trade-offs between convenience and rigor. The fact that something is convenient doesn't mean that it's rigorous. So again, if it's systematic review, there has to be a clear framework that is being used, clear set of inclusion and exclusion criteria. You need to have two individuals working on it. So this would obviously not meet the standards for what we'll classify as a systematic review. So the goal of a systematic review will always start with a question. And we said from the last week that the best time to do a systematic review is when we have equipoise, clinical equipoise. We don't know whether we should go left or we should go right. And so the first point of a systematic review is coming up with a research question. Again, as a recap of what we covered last week, a systematic review has a well-defined research question. If the research question is not well-defined, then you have not even started. So your first task in a systematic review is not necessarily to jump in and start doing a literature review. No, it is to refine what the research question is. And then once you have done that, so it starts with coming up with a rough idea. And then you do a targeted literature review to see what the gap is, what exactly is the state of equipoise that we have. It is only then that you can then come up with a refined question that you're going to explore in your systematic review. And then you do the systematic review, and then you write up the whole analysis. Also, remember that from our lecture last week, we established that for it to be a systematic review, you need to have not just 2 people only, but you must also examine at least 2 databases. It's not enough to look at just one database. And remember, Google Scholar or Google is not a database, right? So you need to look at least 2 databases for it to establish or to qualify as being systematic. And we explain the rationale for that. So these are some of the databases that you can access to get literature. Now, in the process of refining your research question, we also talked last week about the PICO framework. And again, I'm just trying to repeat some of those things so that in case there are some people who weren't there last week, they can come to speed with what we're talking about. So the PICO framework is an acronym that discusses the key things that must be considered in our research question, and also when we construct our search terms to get the relevant literature. So the acronym is PICOTS. P stands for population. So when we're defining our research question or search terms, the population of the P is important because that's where we define our inclusion criteria or exclusion criteria in terms of person or place. The I is the intervention, right? And that, in our search term, when we're creating our search terms to look at PubMed or Web of Science, including adding the intervention helps us to increase the specificity of our search. It makes our search more specific. The comparison also, for that same purpose, for our search term, we can try different search terms and see the kind of specificity that we get from different search terms. O is the outcome, which we're going to look at the case studies on how we can create search terms, but O is the outcome, and we definitely want to include the outcome in our search term. T is the time period. In a literature review, we might want to restrict the search to recent studies. And the reason is because science is very rapidly evolving. Science is dynamic. And so we want to capture contemporary evidence. And then the study design. A literature review, a systematic review doesn't necessarily only have to have one type of study design. That was a question someone asked last week. We can include randomized trials and case control studies and cohort studies. And so all of that is defined by we, the investigators. We define what we want to include in our study, as we mentioned last week. So how many studies should you include in your literature review? Well, you don't want too many. You don't want too few, right? And so, again, the hallmark of this is defining your research question. Remember that for systematic review, you must include all the studies that meet the inclusion criteria. It's not enough for you to just cherry pick the ones that you want. So in other words, what we're saying is that if you want your results not to be too many or to be too few, all of this boils down to how you define your research question. Your research question should not be too broad or too narrow, because that will inherently affect the kind of results you get. So, but once you define your research question in systematic review and you do your search, you must include all the studies. All the studies that meet that criteria must be included. So again, it's very important to emphasize that the results we eventually get will be a function of how we frame our research question. So we need to understand some operators we call Boolean operators, which we use in search. And there are 3 of them: or, and, not. You can think of or as more, because OR is in the word more. So you want more and more. So when you use the word or as a Boolean operator, you're going to get more results. The second Boolean operator is and. Think of and, think of band, like a wedding band. The wedding band signifies that 2 individuals are married and then they're stuck together for the rest of their lives. Where one goes, the other goes, right? So when you use and, you're saying that these two words are married together, they are stuck together. We can only retrieve results if both are found together, right? And so obviously when you use the word and, you're going to get fewer results because now two of them must be together for the result to be positive. And not means nothing. We want A and B, but not C. So those are the Boolean operators we're going to use in our search. This is the same thing again, just in form of a visual. So A or B, or means more, means the union of A and B. So we're going to get more results. A and B means the intersection of A and B. So that means where A and B come together. So we're only getting this point here because remember, and means band, a wedding band. They are married together. So we only select the result where both A and B are together. A not B, or A not B means A only to the exclusion of B. So those are the three Boolean operators we use very frequently in search to make sure that we streamline our results based on our research question as defined by PICO. So here, for example, I'm looking at my research literature review search is regarding tobacco use prevalence among African youth. So on the left-hand side here, I have my elements of PICO. Population, again, intervention, control, outcome, time, and study design. Those are the elements of PICO. Now, all the elements of PICO must be in your research question, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they all must be explicitly stated in your search. So in this case, for example, I start with my outcome. My outcome is tobacco use, which is a very broad term. So I have to list all the tobacco products here. Now, my research question would have been better if I had been more specific in what what do I mean by tobacco use? That could be anything. But since that research question is not very specific, it's not very focused, my search has to include all of these terms, tobacco or cigar. When we use the asterisk here, this is a wild card. We're saying anything that starts with cigar, regardless of what it ends with. So this could be cigar, this could be cigarillo, this could be cigarettes, this could be anything that starts with cigar. So we obviously don't want to start writing all of them out. So we just put cigar and then wildcard or asterisk, which means anything that starts with that term, regardless of what it ends with. The same thing here with, so take note that we sometimes put some things in quotation marks to mean that that is exactly how we want them to be found. So you see here, I've put e-cig or electronic cigarette in quotes. That's because it's possible that you might see a lot of papers that have to do with electronic, like it's just talking about an electronic product, like ceiling fans or like refrigerators. No, I'm interested in just electronic cigarettes together as one composite word. So that's why sometimes we put things in quotes. So again, we're just trying to establish principles here so that you can know how to apply them in your own search. So you can see how within the population or the outcome of interest, we have defined the various terms and we have connected synonyms together with the word or. So combine synonyms with or within the framework of that particular item of PICO. So here we are talking about outcome. All the synonyms of the outcomes are connected together in brackets with or. So tobacco or cigar or e-cig, and so on and so forth. Now, the next is population. Population here is one of the disadvantages on PubMed is that there's no exact way to filter results based on the countries. There's no straightforward way to do that. So if you want some degree of sensitivity, you might have to connect all of the elements with or. So here, I'm interested in all of Africa, so I specify as Angola or Benin or Botswana or all these other countries that make up Africa, right? So that way, regardless of the country that this was published in, my results can capture them. Next is study design. Let's say I'm interested in just cross-sectional studies. And specifically, I'm interested in studies that were captured with a standardized surveillance system, namely the Global Youth Tobacco Survey or GYTS. So I define that here because there may be a whole bunch of studies. There may be animal studies. There may be some experimental studies or lab studies. No, I'm interested specifically in surveys, and specifically, those that are, cross-sectional in nature, not repeated. The population is youth, so I include teen or adolescent or youth or child. So child could be children or just child. So whatever it ends with is eligible. I am not interested in studies of adults or men or women or pregnancy, because you might have studies looking at, the impact of tobacco use among children when the mother is still pregnant. So intrauterine effects of smoking. I'm not interested in those studies. So this is how I use the not. So you can see how I have used the 3 Boolean operators, which is or, and, not. Not is to filter out things I'm not interested in, and then the others are to streamline the results. And so now I can then take this search and run it in PubMed. Right, this is the same search that I've run in PubMed. For those of you who are not familiar with PubMed, let's just let's go to the site and show you how to do that. How do I get this to escape? All right, great. All right, so copy this search term here. We'll go to PubMed. So PubMed is an electronic database of peer-reviewed, publications. So it is housed under the National Library of Medicine, which is in Bethesda, Maryland, under NIH. All right, so it has a very simple interface, just one search bar, just like Google. So you create your search terms. So spend most of it, don't just come to PubMed. Take your time, create your search terms outside PubMed first, right? And then when you have made sure that you have created your search terms very well, you can then come and just enter them here and search. When you also search, you want to make sure that don't just search and forget about the search terms. This is part of a methodology. So you must make sure you create a Google document and paste the search terms you are using and the number of results that ensued from that search term, so that it's reproducible. Somebody else can take that exact same search term and run their search, and they should get something similar. Now we have 390 results. Now, depending on what our inclusion criteria was, we can then filter these results. So let's say we said our inclusion criteria was studies that were based within the past 10 years. We can then say, all right, this is studies in the past 10 years. This has reduced this from 390 to 249. We can also say we're interested only in the kind of studies we're interested in are observational studies based on our search. So we can look at additional filters and specify the kinds of studies we're interested in. Let's say we're interested in observational studies, right? So that would, can we please stop writing on the screen? All right, thank you very much.
Emmanuel, please.
All right, and then we're interested in studies that are full text, not just abstract, regardless of whether they are free. Now, when you are doing your literature review, avoid focusing only on studies that are free full text. Free full text means that they are freely available, right? But what of studies that are not freely available but need to be included in the study? You have by restricting your study to only free full text, you have removed just arbitrarily so many studies that may be relevant, but based on just accessibility by price or cost, you have completely eliminated them. So it's better to include all studies that are eligible, and then you have to do the hard work of trying to go and find where you can find those papers. So you might reach out to the principal investigators or the lead authors or the corresponding authors and say, hey, I want to do a systematic review and your study meets our inclusion criteria. Do you mind sharing the PDF of your article with me? Right? That is a better way to do it than to just exclude a whole bunch of studies from literature review just like that. Now, what if you do not find a co-author that would, maybe the co-author is not willing to share? Well, this is what some people do. and I do not encourage it, and nor do I endorse it. But this is a platform which people use to get articles which they cannot access because of costs, because they have to pay. It's called scihub.se. Again, we're not endorsing it. In fact, I'm discouraging you from using it. But this is how people use Sci-Hub to get papers which are covered over a paywall. So let's say we're interested in, let me just pull a paper, for example, that has let's see. Let's look at all papers. So let's say we're interested in this paper, tobacco control in China and the road to healthy China 2030. We try to access the article, and we are told that, okay, we have a paywall here, right? We need to pay $34.78 to access this article. Well, what some people do, which again, we're not endorsing or encouraging, is you copy the title and you go to Sci-Hub and you paste that title and you open, and it gives you the article, right? So now you can include it. Yeah, this is what some people do. We're not endorsing it. We're not encouraging it. Why are we not encouraging it? Well, because it robs the publishers of getting access to their money. And so that is not a good thing, but that is what some people do. Now, you can use that information as you will, but again, we're not endorsing or encouraging it, but this just to show you how some people access articles when they cannot either pay for it or access it through PubMed. All right, let's move on. Right, so what are some of the steps to follow for your literature review? Well, first of all, you have to identify the search terms. So remember, we talked about the case study we had, talked about tobacco or cigarettes or e-cigarettes. You don't just come up with those terms. You want to make sure that you include mesh terms. Mesh terms means medical subheading, right? So how do you know what the mesh terms are? Well, you go back to PubMed again. So let's say we go to PubMed, and we're interested in the topic tobacco control. So let's go. Let's start from the beginning again so that we're all on the same page. So this is where we started, pubmed.gov. At the bottom of pubmed.gov, you see what you have called the mesh database. So the mesh database is a database that contains the medical subheadings for all topics in the world. So you click on that, and then you can then type the topic. So let's say we're interested in tobacco. We enter that. We select whichever one we are interested in, and these are the mesh terms. The mesh terms that correspond to that topic. So we can then use those ones in our search. Mesh terms are not necessarily the same thing as keywords. Keywords are, you as the author might be writing the paper and you say, oh, maybe the journal says supply 3 or 4 keywords. You supply whatever keywords you wanted. Now, those keywords may or may not be mesh terms, but when you submit your paper, and let's say the paper is published and accepted in PubMed, one of the things that the staff in the National Library of Medicine, and what they do is that before they index it in Medline, each article is assigned mesh terms. So that is done by the staff in the National Library of Medicine. A long time ago, they used to do that manually. But now it's all automated. They use AI for that. But it's a combination of AI with human supervision. And so when you are searching, you want to make sure that you include a combination of mesh terms, which you get from here. Again, to get mesh terms, you come to pubmed.gov, and you go to the mesh database, and you type whatever word you're interested in, tobacco or whatever the search is, and then you can access the mesh terms. That's how to optimize the result you're going to get from PubMed. And so whatever the result is, you can then use that to construct your search, right? So that is how you do that. Now, when you search, let's say, when you search on, let's go back to PubMed. When you search on PubMed, you want to make it's always easier to make sure that you save your results in a clipboard. It's just easier that way. So let's say you're interested in some certain results. You can select the ones you're interested that meet the criteria, and then you send them to clipboard, right? The advantage of sending them to clipboard is that this is the clipboard here. So you select the ones you're interested, you send to clipboard. It's so that you don't lose track of what you're doing. And I would strongly encourage all of us to create an account with the National Library of Medicine. That way, when you want to do your search, you log in. If you don't have an account, what happens is that your search terms could easily become lost after a few hours, right? But when you have an account, those things are saved into your account so that you can look at your history. Because imagine if you don't have an account, every time you come back, you have to type a search term again. You're like, geez, what terms did I use then? It's been erased because it's exceeded the memory window. But so small, again, it's free. So create an account, and that way you have persistence in memory. And so you have items in your search in your clipboard. You can look at the clipboard and then make changes that you need. So this is the clipboard here. We have 4 items. We can examine all those 4 items. We can save. If you want to export results from PubMed to your search database or to your reference engine, you can save it in whatever format you want. So let's say I want to save as CSV or any other format. I can then proceed to download that. So that's how you can use PubMed to do your search. But again, you have to practice. I encourage everybody to practice using creating mesh terms, and then use your mesh terms to be able to construct your search using the PICO framework. And that would really make your lives easier. All right, let's proceed. So again, first step is you identify the search terms with either the mesh terms and keywords. Then next, you define your inclusion and exclusion criteria for PICO, population intervention control, outcome, time, and study design, using the 3 Boolean operators we talked about, which were or, and not. You locate studies from appropriate databases. Make sure you search at least 2 databases. And remember, Google does not count. Google Scholar does not count as well. You screen and assess studies based on, you start with the titles and the abstract. And this is why when you're writing a paper, you want to pay attention to how your title is framed. Because your title is the first thing in your paper that any researcher will come in contact with. The title is so important because inclusion of your study into systematic reviews is largely based on what the title is. So this is why you shouldn't try to be cute with your titles or try to be funny, or it should be framed in such a way that it is optimized for search. So you make sure that your title includes elements of person, place, and time. Because when you're doing a systematic review, that's what people are looking for, to see whether it's relevant to their search. And then the abstract as well. And then again, finally, you then extract the results and then you synthesize the results. They use a data extraction form. We talked about the Chisquares platform last week. We're going to show a little more demo today for those who did not follow last time. Then once you've extracted your data, you can synthesize your evidence either in narrative form or in quantitative form. And we talked about how to frame results in quantitative form last week. We talked about you can frame as a meta-analysis where you are creating a forest plot and a summary, an aggregate score or effect that summarizes the results from all the other existing studies. This is the slide from last week. Or if it's a systematic review, you can summarize it. This is also quantitative. The only difference between this one and the previous one is that there is no pooled result that averages all the other ones. But for all other reasons, it also displays the individual studies and summarizes what their effect is. So one of the things we want to do today is, one of our case studies today is, how do we create these kinds of plots with just basic tools? If you just have Excel, you don't have money to buy fancy tools, and you need to create a forest plot like this or like this. How do you do that in Excel? So I have created a dummy data set here. Let me drop that with you. So let's try and see how we can create a forest plot together with just Excel. Oops. How do I create this? All right. All right, so there's a dummy data set I have created here. This is mine. I have shared the link to this same here. So if you're accessible on the computer now, you can try download the data set so we can do a hands-on session of trying to create a forest plot with just Excel. It's pretty straightforward, really. So this is the link I just dropped. Longly, is that link accessible?
It is. Can you hear me? Yes, it is.
All right, great. All right, so let me know when you have the data and so that we can do it together in a hands-on manner. If you have the data, just give me a thumbs up so I can know. Once I have 10 thumbs up, I'll proceed. So just download data, copy it into your computer, open your Excel spreadsheet and just paste it. Our goal is just to be able to create a forest plot like this ones we saw in the previous slide. Okay, I have one thumbs up. Okay, I have two. All right, that's three. Four. Okay, 5, 6, 7. Okay, three more. Why are we pasting? Where are we pasting it? Just open an Excel spreadsheet on your own computer and just copy it, or you can just download the spreadsheet. Either download the spreadsheet or just copy and paste it into your Excel spreadsheet. The idea is to have it something like this. That's all we're asking for. Is anybody confused on this step? If you're confused on this step, that's not a good sign. It means we're in for a very long run. Are we all set with that? All right. All right, so you should have your Excel spreadsheet here. Like, let me maximize this. So here, what we have is the study name. These are the study and the year it was published. We have the incidence rate ratio from the study. This is the lower confidence interval, and this is the upper confidence interval. This is how you want to make sure you want to set it up if you're going to use Excel. Why are we using Excel? Because it's easily accessible. There's no point in using a very complicated tool when you can't have access to it. So that's why we're using Excel. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and put a space between the study name. And before we do that, right, if you look at this Excel, the results here, most times the way results are presented is they're presented in an ascending way or descending way. So it's just easier for the reader to view the results just visually, right? If we presented the results in a way that they were just haphazard, it's harder for the reader to, let me see, do you have to populate this data manually? These are your results that came from your review. These are the results you summarized from a systematic review. We're just saying, how do you use them to create a figure? So in line with this here, let us now sort our results in a way that it shows that gradient. So it's easier for readers to view them. So I'm going to sort my data. So you come to sort, right? And let's custom sort. We're going to sort by the incidence rate ratio, which is the first column B here. So let's sort by the incidence rate ratio, smallest to largest or largest to smallest, your preference, doesn't matter. But the idea is that we want to make sure that it flows, there's a gradient, just like we saw in that other figure. So our goal is just to replicate what we saw here, in this study here. See how they have their own flowing nicely from beginning, from small to large. That's how we want our own to be too. So that's why we have to sort it first. All right, step one. Is everybody happy with step one? I need an index person to serve as our rate limiting step, so that when that person says we're all set, I'll move on. Who wants to volunteer to be our rate limiting step? Let's see. No volunteer. Sorry.
Okay, Dr. Esther.
I want somebody who's working on it actually, so that we're not going too fast, not too slow.
Let Dr. Esther.
Sorry?
Dr. Esther.
All right, Dr. Esther, are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you. I
right.
volunteer to be the rate limiting candidate.
All right, super, super. All right, awesome. So can you confirm that you have a data set on your computer?
Pardon?
Do you have the data set on your computer? Hello? You cannot be the rate limiting candidate if you don't have good internet.
No, it's actually, sorry. I muted everyone.
Okay.
Esther, please don't mute yourself. I'm gonna mute everyone. Esther, kindly unmute yourself and do not mute.
Yes, I've unmuted myself.
All right, great, awesome. So do you have this data on your laptop?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Have you sorted the data in ascending or
No.
descending? Okay, all right. So to sort, right, select the data by just pressing Control A anywhere, click anywhere and then press Control A, and then come to where you have this funnel. This funnel is where you sort.
Okay.
Can you see the funnel on your computer?
Yes.
Click the funnel.
Yes, I've clicked.
Okay, then select Custom Sort.
Okay. Done.
That's awesome. Now select Sort on those arrows here. I don't know what version of Word Excel you're using, but there may be some differences, but in principle, it will be similar. Select the Sort On and select Incidence Rate Ratio.
Sort on. Oh, I have options here.
Okay.
What I have is sort on. I'm seeing sort by values, A to Z, as well as options.
Okay, that's fine. So sort by the second one, right? Make sure you select this box here that my list has headers, because there's a header there.
Okay.
So make sure that checkbox is enabled. And
okay, I've enabled it.
Awesome. Then can you now see, when you click on sort on, can you see incidence rate ratios?
No, it's not displayed like that.
Okay.
I'm seeing sort on, sort by, values, A to Z.
Okay.
That's what is displayed.
No, but before we select values, right? Make sure you first of all select what the variable, the column you want to sort on. You are selecting A to Z because it's reading it as string or as text. So can you select the second column?
Second column. That's column D. Under sort by, right?
No, just can you see my screen?
Yes.
So I have sort by here. This is not clickable. Then the next thing here, I click this icon, the arrow here. See, I click that arrow and I see these options. And these are the, make sure that in your data set, this is the first row. Is this the first row in your data set?
No,
See?
no.
All right,
It's
move it
not.
to, okay, so all right, good. So move it to, see how mine is?
Ah,
All right, that's how you want yours to be too.
okay. Okay, done.
All right, super. So again, we select, and then we'll go back to the funnel, custom sort. Can you see this now?
I'm still checking.
All right.
Control A. Custom sort. Sort by. There are columns A to G.
Make sure you select the top there that says my list has headers.
Okay, done.
Now,
yes, I'm there now.
Awesome. So make sure you select incidence rate ratios.
Done.
Then make sure you select, you can choose smallest to largest or largest to smallest, whichever you want. Doesn't really matter.
Okay, smallest to largest.
Okay, and then okay at the end.
Done.
Awesome. Now, your child is very invested in this story. Next, we have to now insert. We want to insert a space between the beginning of the data and the column name. So click on the second where the first study is, and right click and say insert. We just want to add a space between the study and the variable names and the actual data. So we want to have one empty row in between there.
Okay. Insert.
You can do that. You can, if you don't want to be fancy, you can just literally just copy and paste, leave one line and paste.
Okay, done.
Awesome. Next, select the names of the studies, the investigators, like the way I have here.
Okay.
Then
yes, done.
Go to insert. We want to insert a figure. So go to insert and then look at the bar. Look at that figure here. The bar charts.
Insert. I'm on insert.
Can you see the bars?
Yes, I can.
So click that bar.
Can
you see that?
Yes.
Can you see this one, this stack bar?
Which one?
That looks like the line, one is lying on top of the other.
Okay. I click.
You see that? Then click on it.
I've done that.
Do you have something like this, like mine?
Adams, it does something like.
No, look at the figure. Do you have something exactly like this?
Yes.
All right, good. Now, make sure can you see switch rows on columns? Click on the figure and then you can see switch rows and column. Can you see that up here?
Switch rows and columns. Yes.
Click on it.
Done.
Do you have what I have?
Let me check. Exactly. That's what I have.
Awesome. So see, you're doing very, very well. Now let's now add the other data points. But before we add the other data points, let's make sure we'll come back to our figure and add some things that we need to create the figure. So first things first, we're going to add a a column that will allow us to create, if that column is called, we call it, and let's call it the counter. We're going to use it as a Y column for our figure. So come to the last figure here, the last number, and type 1 at the bottom, then 2, then 3. We want to go and take it upwards. So we will then select and drag all the way up.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, and then Excel automatically knows that that's the pattern you want. So once you select and come to the edge, just drag all the way to the top. Let me know when you've done that.
Okay. Still there, trying to do it. No, it's not working.
Okay,
Let me type it manually.
No.
I'm trying to bring out that
Manually.
the other arrow that's supposed to do that automatically.
No,
It's
but don't
not.
do it manually, because if it's, what if you have a million cells that, you can't do
Yeah,
it.
I
So
understand.
come to the bottom, right? Type 1, 2, 3, and let me know when you have done that.
I've typed 1, 2 to 3.
Okay, great. Now select the 1, 2, 3.
Mm.
Do you see this node? Let me expand this. You see this node here?
Yes.
The node at the bottom, right? The bottom here.
Yeah.
So select that node and then drag upwards.
Okay, let me try it. Oh, it has come out.
Were you able to do it?
I did, but I'm seeing 1 all through.
No. The reason is because you did not select 1, 2, 3. Make sure you
Okay, I
select.
only selected 1.
Yeah, you only selected 1. Make sure you select 1, 2, 3. The whole point is that Excel knows that it's a pattern. You know that there's 1, 2, 3, and it knows that you want it to go upwards in that increasing pattern. That's why you can't select only 1.
Fine, I'm done.
Awesome.
15.
You are a rock star. All right, now let's call this counter.
Okay.
That's the first thing we need. The second thing we need is something like this line. So you see the null value here. Where's the null value here?
You're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
I can't find it on mine.
No. I'm saying on the screen.
Okay. Yeah.
So where do you see the null value? The null value is typically in the case of relative measures of association is what value?
0 now.
No.
0, I mean 1.
1. So we want to create a line that is at 1. See, that's what we want to do. So let's call that the null line. So let's call this null. And so we're going to have 1. Everybody will have a value of 1 here. So just type 1 and grab it and pull down. So everybody has is 1 for all the studies.
Done.
Oh, excellent. Now, we now want to put a value here. See where this one is placed. We want to make sure that it's beyond the largest 95% interval. See, it's by the right of the most extreme confidence interval here. So let's look at our most extreme confidence interval, upper limit. So they're all 1 point something. So we can safely say we're going to place that one at 3. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We want these numbers here. We want our figure to have these numbers too, but we want to make sure that it doesn't overlap with the confidence interval. It should be clear. It should be clearly to the right of the most extreme confidence interval. And when we look at our confidence intervals, the upper limits, they are all 1 point something. So we can safely put our numbers at 3. So put 3 here and then drag all the way down.
Okay.
And let's just call this our CI line. Are you all set with that?
No, let me drag first.
Okay.
Okay, I've dragged 3.
Okay. Everyone has 3, right?
CL line.
Okay. You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last thing we have to do is to create a mechanism where we would have to put our confidence intervals. And so we need to do a little bit of conversion. So we would, for the lower limit, let's call this lower limit.
Lower limit.
Upper limit. So for the lower limit, we are simply going to take the incidence rate ratio minus this value. Right? And let me explain what we're trying to achieve. We know that the point estimate is already here. So the question is, from here, how far away is this one to the left? And how far away is this one to the right? So it can't be the whole confidence interval. We have to subtract since this one is already here, we now have to take the difference. So that's what we're trying to do. So for this one, take the upper limit and subtract it from the lower limit. And for the upper limit, it will be the other way around. Take the upper CI and subtract the incidence rate ratio from it.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yeah. Let me try before I say yeah.
That's fine. That's fine enough.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
No, that's fine. So for the lower one, right, take the incidence rate ratio, because the incidence ratio will always be bigger than the lower limit. So just take this one and subtract the lower from it.
I should do it manually?
No. Say type equal to,
Okay.
then select the first one here, click on it, then say minus, and then click on the next one. You see that?
Yeah.
And then hit enter. Let me know when you've gotten that.
Okay.
Now for the second one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the upper limit minus the incidence rate ratio. And we're going to hit enter.
Okay, I've gotten the first one.
So you have the first, do you have 0.11 and 0.13?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Now select the 2, the way I have.
No, I've not gotten the upper limit.
Okay, all right. Are you winning?
No, I got 0 minus 0.11. Maybe I didn't get the signs well.
So
for the upper limit.
No, for the upper limit, right? You're going to click the upper limit minus the incidence rate ratio. The upper limit will always be a bigger number than the point estimate.
I'll try again.
Okay. Do you have 0.13?
Yes.
And do you have 0.11 on the other one?
Yes.
Awesome. Now select the 2 of them the way I have. Have you selected it?
Yes.
Then that node at the bottom, grab that node and then drag it all the way down so that you apply that formula to all of them.
Okay.
Have you done that?
That's what I'm doing. Yes, I have.
Awesome. You're fantastic. Now, we have one last thing we need to do. See, the way they have the numbers here. Do you see? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
We have to create our numbers this way. So if equal to, so you put equal to there. Let me know when you have done that. Are you still with me?
Yeah.
So equal to, click the incidence rate ratio. Have you done that?
Yes.
Then and quote. And quote is how you separate one element from the other. So you're going to be seeing a lot of and then quote. We'll put a bracket open. We want to put the first number, then bracket open, right? And quote. We're always going to be using and to separate things. So can you see what I've done so far?
Let me put the and quote. Bracket open.
Then quote and then we'll click the second lower limit. Again, and quote. The values we're interested in, they are very comfortable with and. So and must be beside them all the time. And quote must be surrounding the and. Right. Then we'll put dash, quote, and. Then we'll select the upper limit and quote, the bracket, and then this.
Wow,
so
it's becoming long.
So that's it, we're done. I knew a good complaint. So let me make it big so you can see clearly. Let's move it this way. Can you see clearly?
Yes, I can.
All right, awesome. So the idea is that for every of the elements we're trying to capture, the thing immediately next to them must be and, right? What is immediately next to them must be and where you have and, you must have quote. That's the idea.
Okay.
Let me know when you've done yours.
True. Please hold on. Quote again. Yeah. Mine is not moving. I'm trying to insert the other quotes.
Where are you? So if you are doing it correctly, the numbers you are selecting must be in color. If they're not in color, that means you did it wrongly.
Yeah, that is it, Charlene. The numbers are not coming out. The C3 and D3.
Are they coming out? They're not coming out. So maybe you missed something.
It's only B3 that is that I'm seeing, and the and quote.
So You have B3. Okay, let me read out to you, right? B3 and quote, space, bracket open, quote, and C3.
I don't have a C3. I stopped at that and before the C3.
And so go and click the lower limit.
Okay.
That's what the C3 is. Like go and click on the lower limit.
Yeah, it has appeared.
Awesome. So then and quote.
Yes.
Then dash.
Yes.
And quote.
Yes.
Then we'll go to D3, which is the upper limit.
Upper limit. Yes.
And quote. Then you close the bracket and then you put another quote. And you enter. And that's what this gives you.
I'm seeing an error message.
Okay.
Which reads, there is a problem with this formula. Not trying to type a formula. Blah, 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 blah.
Did you put equal to the front at all?
Before the B3.
Yeah.
Yes, it's there.
So
let me read out what I have.
Okay, sure.
Equal to B3 and D3.
Oh, no. Can you just see what I have on the screen and replicate it exactly in your own?
Okay. Oh. Let me do it again. Can we just proceed, please? Let me not delay.
No, that's fine. It's fine. Don't worry.
Because I believe others might have gotten it right.
That's fine. That's why you are a rate limiting candidate. Don't get it right. We're not living here.
I'm saying that you can proceed while I figure out.
No, I want you to get it right. It's
Oh.
yeah, it's not. You just calm down and do it well. It's fine. Make sure you look at what I have on the screen, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
D3 and D3.
Mommy, say what?
Are you winning?
I'm trying to win.
All right, that's good. Where are you now?
After B3, I'm trying to figure out how to insert C3, but all I'm seeing here is D3.
You can just
So
type
I can't-
C3.
Okay, I should type it.
Yeah. As long as that's the same way you pasted it, as long as it's on C3. When you type it, does it change color?
Yes, it does.
So just type exactly what we have here.
I've typed, but it doesn't change color. Maybe because I typed manually.
Maybe you omitted a space. All right. So maybe for the sake of time, I'll just proceed, and maybe
Yeah,
we can
please.
then access the video later and then watch it. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. So again, we apply this formula down. Let me move this out of the way. So apply again, you just do it to the first cell and you apply the rest, and that applies everything. So let's just call this our OR and confidence intervals, or our risk ratios and confidence intervals. So we have everything we need now to create. So let me delete this and start all over again. Delete this figure. So again, we come here, or let me, let me just make sure, let me drop this in Excel. Let me drop this in the Dropbox so you can still follow me. So let's go to forest plot. This is the one with, so you can just download the one with the, I've dropped the figure here with everything formatted. So you can just grab that one and we can continue. Is our rate limiting candidate still here? Or you've run away?
So, Sarah, can you please share it again and make sure it's sent to everyone?
I've shared it on the same link we had before. Okay, let me share it again. Is our rate limiting student still here, or you've run away? She's muted. Okay. Lungile, can you please unmute her so that we can proceed?
Yeah, she's in meeting.
Okay, are you still here? Okay. I think she has officially run away. All right.
I'm here. I've not run away. I'm here.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Did you get the link? I have dropped.
Yes.
Okay, great. So just copy that and we're going to use that. And then you can practice creating that later. So that's what we have now at the bottom here. So do you have this? If you have it, just copy it to your figure and we can continue with that.
Okay, let me copy.
Okay. Okay. Do you have it now?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to open it in a new page.
Okay.
What is going on? Don't know what is happening to my Excel. It's giving me error message. I can't open a new page, a new Excel page.
Are you on Excel currently?
Yeah,
Why do you don't have to open a new page? You can just press Control N to open a new
that's
one.
what I'm doing. Is asking me to save the other one.
Okay, well, you don't need
I
to.
did Control N. I've already done Control C just to do Control N to create a new page and paste.
That's fine. You can
There's
paste
no-
at the bottom. You don't have
Okay,
to, you don't have to open a new page. Just paste at the bottom of what you have.
okay.
So let me just make sure I paste mine like that so you don't, so you can get some reassurance that it's fine to do it that way. So you see, I have mine too pasted below. So I will use this one.
Ah, this thing is not working. I can't paste.
Okay, maybe you'll have some fundamental issues with.
Yeah, it's saying there is a problem with this formula. Even when I opened another Excel.
Escape. Just hit the escape button on your computer. It's completely escape. Or press Alt Control Delete on your computer and just,
Delete.
and just select Excel and just restart all over.
Okay, I've pasted.
All right, awesome. So you are with me now.
Yes.
We're going to start the figure all over again from scratch. So you know the drill now. Select the first one, the names, insert. Let me know when you've done that.
Okay. Names. Insert. I've selected the names and I've clicked on insert.
And you should have something like this. Make sure you're watching my screen too to make sure what you have is exactly what I have. Do you have this?
No. After insert, what do I click?
All right, let me
To
start.
get
So,
this.
select the names, insert, go to the bars at the top and click on this bar, the one that's lying on top of the other, start bar.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
So select that.
Done.
All right, great. Then click on switch rows and columns. Are you all set?
No.
When you select the figure, at the top, you see that icon, switch rows and columns.
Okay, I'm there.
You have what I have on the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Then now the next is to now add all these other elements to this figure. So half of the journey is done. Congratulations, right? So now click inside the figure. Make sure you have a Chisquare selection. That shows that you're selecting the plot area. Do you have that?
Please hold on. Okay.
All right. So right click inside and click on select data. So we're going to be using the select data a lot because we're going to select all those other things and put them into that plot.
I've clicked on right click inside, select data.
All right, great. So now we're going to modify this element. So right now you have series 1, which is this is just Excel telling you that this is the first item on the sheet. We're going to put the name. Do you see series 1 on your stuff? Do you use Mac or do you use Windows?
Windows.
Okay, it should be the same thing. I can't remember exactly how it looks in Windows, but do you see series 1?
Yes, I do.
All right, so the name doesn't really matter so much, but just so we're organized, let's treat everything accordingly. The name, we're going to put it as, just click on study name. So we'll click on study name, and that will assign the name. Have you done that?
Series 1. Is it when I click? Oh, I have clicked on series 1.
Okay, then you should look for something that says name. You see name, Y values, and X values.
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
It's not appearing like that.
It will not be exactly like this because you're using a different operating system. So but it will have the same fundamental elements.
Yeah, I am seeing here chart data range.
Okay. Do you have something like called the Y-axis? Okay. You know what? So I'll just do it on the Mac, and maybe next week I'll repeat it on the Windows. So so it to be clear. But the principle is that the Y-axis, for all we're doing, the Y values will always be the counter. The Y values will always be the counter. So here, I'm going to select 1 above the counter up to 1 below the counter. And if we have time, we can, we can look at, you can share your screen and then I'll walk you through it. But for now, I'm just going to walk through this selection and explain how everything is being done.
Okay.
So for the Y values, the counter is always the Y value. Again, that's why we created a counter, because wherever I see Y value, you will always select the counter. Now, this first time is the only time we are selecting 1 up, 1 above, and 1 below. That's why I said you should add a space between the name, variable names, and the data, right? But this is the only time we're going to be selecting 1 above and 1 below. And then the horizontal or X values will always be the value we're interested in. In this case, the value is the names. So again, we select 1 above up to 1 below. And again, this is the only time we're going to be selecting 1 above and 1 below. All the other times, it's going to be exactly the values we're interested in. And so we okay this, and this gives us something like this. So these are the names. So you can see Adams is at the top here in our actual names, but Adams at the bottom here. So we want to flip the names. So what we're going to do is, this session is being recorded, so you can always go back to the video and record it and watch it. It's very unlikely that anybody is going to get it just by watching it this first time. So, but you can go back and practice over and over. We're going to select the names because that's the names we want to modify. What we want to do is that we want to flip the names so that Adams goes to the top, just like we have it here. So we're going to select the names, right click on it, and click on Format Axis, right? First thing we're going to do is categories in reverse order. That means that flip the names so that Adams go to the top. So we'll click on categories in reverse order. But you see, when we do that, what happens is that the labels also go to the top. So we don't want that. So let's put it at the bottom here by selecting, put the horizontal axis at the maximum category so that it brings it to the bottom. So far, that's what we have done. We have flipped the names, and we did that by clicking on this axis, selecting Format Axis, which brought us to this, and we selected categories in reverse order so that Adams went to the top. Now, the problem was that when Adams went to the top, this X-axis also went with him. So to reverse the X-axis down to the bottom, we said horizontal axis crosses at maximum category. So that is what we have done here so far. So now the names are where we want them to be, but we'll see that these lines do not align. So what we should have done is make sure that when we're formatting the axis, we say that the bars are on tick points, on tick marks. So they are exactly on that. And don't worry at this point if it's not aligned. We're going to take care of that later. Do you at least understand what we've done so far?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Minimally. I believe I will do when I
Yeah,
watch the video.
you will need to practice it a lot before you get it. So it's fine if you don't understand it fully. But again, take the video and watch it and just follow along over and over. All right. If you're interested in learning. So now we have this added, we have the names added. Next, what we want to do is to want to make sure that we add the odds ratios, because remember what we're trying to create is this. So we have to add the odds ratios. Again, to do that, to add anything to the plot, what we always need to do is come here, select the plot area inside, make sure that this rectangle is selected, right click on it, and we always click on select data to add data. So we're always going to come to select data over and over. So select data. I want to add a new data point to this. To add the new data point, you're always going to use this plus sign. So we'll add a new data point. Now this is series 2. Let's see how it looks like. So you see it has added a new data point, but that's not what we want. We want the data points to be, like something like this, just like what we have here. So let's change this data point to something that we want. So let's change the chart type to a scatter plot, right? So that it's the point, it's capturing the odds ratio. So now we can go ahead and add all these other odds ratios to what we have. So we need to go back to that point here and edit it so that it captures all the data points we have there. So you always come here, select data. If you want to add a new data point, you add, but now we don't want to add a new data point. We want to edit an existing data point, which was series 2. So we click on series 2. The name was the incidence rate ratios. The X values are always the values we're interested in. Oh, I see what's happening here. When I copied and pasted this stuff, let's see. Sorry, this is misaligned when I copied and pasted. All right, so let's, by show of hands, who is extremely confused? Let's see, quick show of hands. Okay, everybody's clear. All right, but again, let's start all over again, right? So that it's super clear to everyone. I'm going to run, I'll go much faster now, right? So you select the data, you come to insert, you add the chart, you add this chart type, you switch rows and columns, then you now start adding your data points. We select data. For this series, the name is study name. The y-axis is always the counter. So the counter will always be, remember what the counter is? The counter is this guy here. Let me expand this. The counter is always the y-axis, right? So for everything you're doing, the counter will always be the y-axis. So we selected the data, select data. The name we said was the study name. The y values, always the counter. The y will always be the counter. So for the first case and only for the first case only, we select from top to bottom, including one cell above and one cell below. The horizontal axis, which is the x-axis, is this one. Also, one cell above, one cell below. And this gave us this. And then the rest was formatting it so that we made sure that Adams, which is at the top here, comes to the top. So to do that, we selected this, we right-clicked on it, we formatted the axis, we say categories in reverse order. We also said put this axis, make it come back to the bottom, and we do that by clicking at category number, at maximum category, and make sure that everything is on ticks. So that's what we did so far. Then we decided to add the odds ratios. And to do that, again, we select data, and we add a new data point because we're adding something new to the plot. So we click on this plus to add the data point, and we see that, okay, it has been added here, but we want this to appear as a scatter plot. So we select this, and we change the chart type from this bar to scatter plot. To scatter. So this is what we want it to be. All right. Now there's just one of this. So we need to edit this data point to include all the remaining ones. So again, you will always go back to select. Select data. Now we want to edit series 2. The name is the incidence rate ratio. The X values. This time we're not copying one above. We're copying the exact values we have from top to bottom. The Y values are always the counter. The counter is always the Y values. So the counter is from first to the last, right? And we okay it. So now we have our odds ratios besides the names, but it's kind of off because see the orange one is kind of above this. So let's select this format axis and make sure that this is on tick marks, so that it's exactly on there. So this, if you want to format how everything aligns with this, you always click on here and format the axis. Again, practice, practice, practice. You can do this literally in 30 seconds if you're very familiar with the process. All right, so now we need to add our confidence intervals, but let's remove these blue lines. They're kind of getting in our way. So let's click on the line. In Excel, if you want to edit anything, just click on what you want to edit, right-click it, and format it. So to format this, we just select the color. We don't want any color. So click on the color, say no fill, and no line. So we've gotten rid of that color, right? So let's add our confidence intervals now. So let's move this out of the way so that we're all following. Are you still following me, or you're completely lost now? Our rate limiting candidates, are you still following? At least a little? Alrighty, I'll take that as consent. All right, let's add our confidence intervals. So we're adding confidence intervals to this guy here. So we'll select him. I will say add chart elements. The add chart elements allows you to add elements that you want to the plot. So we'll select that. And what we want to add is error bars. So let's click on standard error. Now, ideally, we want the error bars to be horizontal, not vertical. So this is not exactly what we want. Sometimes Excel just misbehaves that way. So to change them to horizontal, what we could do is that we would come to format. So you click on the error bars, you click on format at the top, and then you see this box here that allows you to select what you want to format. We're going to select X error bars, which is the X error bars. We want this to be transformed into X error bars so that we can format them. So we select that, and we come to custom so that we can format them how we want. But before that, let's delete the vertical ones. Oops, I deleted the whole thing. So to delete the Y, just select them alone and delete. And so you have something like this. So again, let me take a step back. We had this way. This was how we had our stuff. We wanted to add the error bars. We clicked on this and we said chart design, add chart element. We want to add an element to that point estimate. We selected error bars because that's what we want to add. And we clicked on standard error. For whatever reason, Excel chose to give us vertical error bars. That's fine. That's not what we want, but we can manipulate it. So we selected on the error bars and we said format. and we said we want to format this as X error bars. Currently there, you see, it's currently checking Y error bars. See the check marks on Y error bars. That is not what we want. We want it to change it to X error bars. So we select X error bars here. Nothing will change yet. So you have to come here and say, give me custom bars. That is when it will now change. It will now add the horizontal error bars to the X, to the Y ones you already had before. We don't want the vertical ones, so we can just delete them. So we're left with this horizontal error bars. Now, what we need to do is we need to add the values. This is just a fixed value. It's added to everything. So we want to add our actual values. So we select the error bars and we say custom. Let's specify the value we want to add. So specify value. The positive error bars is the upper limit. So we're going to select the upper limit. And the negative error bars is the lower limit. So we're going to select the lower limit. And we're going to OK it. And that is how we add our confidence intervals. Now, it's looking very small because this axis is very outside. The axis ranges from 0 to 16. We don't need that kind of long axis. So we're going to select, if you want to format anything, you first of all simply click on it and then right-click as format. So anything you want to format, just click on it and format it. So it's ranging from 0 to 16. We don't want it that long. We want it to range from 0 to maybe 0 to 4 or 0 to 5. So let's change the maximum from 16 to, let's say, 5, right? And so now we have changed that. So it's now looking much better. Or we can even change it to 4. So now this is how this looks now. So we've added the confidence intervals. Next is we want to add the null value, which was a 1. The null value of 1. So let's do that. Again, to do that, you always add things by selecting the plot area, right-click, oops. Then you right-click and say select data. So you should understand that that's a pattern now. We're going to add a new data point, which is series 3. The name, we're just going to call it null. The X value will be all the ones selected. The Y value will be the counter. Y value is always the counter. Or select that. And we OK it. So you see that adds this dots here, but we don't want all these green dots. So let's format it. If you want to format anything, simply select whatever you want to format. And do we want markers? No, we don't want a marker. So we want none. Do we want a line? Because right now it has completely disappeared. So we want to make sure that there's a line. It was marker, we want to change it to line. So let's say, yes, we want a line, solid line, and let's make the line as dotted, something like this. And let's change the color of the line to maybe something, you know, or black or whatever color we want. So again, it's just a series of select what you want to add it, format it. It's that simple. Add whatever you want. We don't want these lines. They're kind of confusing. So let's remove them. Select them and just delete. The lines are removed. Next, we want to add the numbers by the side here, right? So what we do, again, we're going to select, add that line element. So let's do that. We select data. Once again, you're going to add a new data point. It's very simple and very repetitive. Add a new element, select the values. The y-axis will always be the counter. Once you add, you format, you can add as many things. So you can add a whole bunch of things you want to your plot, as many things as you want, depending on whatever you desire. So now let's add that value. This is series 4. The name, we're going to call it the CI line. The X values is all the 3s. The Y values is always the counter. The Y is always a counter. So we're going to select this. This is the counter. And OK. So we have this line here, which we want, the bottom line is that we want to add our odds ratios and confidence intervals at that line. But we don't want the line to show. We just want it to be there, invisible, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that that line is, there's no fill and there is no line. So you see, there's not almost as if there's nothing there, but there's actually something there. So let's format it and add a label. So let's say add data labels, but these are not the labels we want. The labels we want actually are these ones here. So what we do, again, whatever you want to format is simple. Just select what you want to format, right click on it and say format this. So select the labels we want to format data labels. These are the ones we want to format. So the question is, where do we want the labels to come from? Do we want them to come from cells? Yes, we want them to come from this cells J here. So value from cells. So which values do we want? From here all the way down. And we can OK that. And we don't want all these other numbers by the side, so we'll just remove the Y values. And that's how we create our forest plot. We can remove this axis, we don't need it anymore. And we can find a nice font and give it to read. Let's say we want it to be a Vernier, and we can increase the font size. We can change the whatever parameters we want. If we don't want this stuff, let's say we want it to be a different color. Of course, we can format that. We can say, let's make this a let's say we want it a different color. Let's say built in, let's change the color to squares, and we want this to be much bigger in size, right? You can do whatever you want. You can say, all right, let's change the color to whatever it is you want, all right? All of those things are completely within your control. So, but in a nutshell, this is a poor man's version of forest plots. This is how, if you don't have sophisticated software to create it, well, this is how you can create it, and it still meets the purpose, right? Next, we just want to add labels. Before we leave, let's add our Y and X labels. So we can come here to chat design and say we want to add labels, right? There's axis titles, there's data labels. So axis titles, let's add we can call this odds ratios, right? So that is nutshell is how you can create a poor man's version of a forest plot in Excel. So when you do your systematic review and you want to summarize data like we had in these studies, like this is a systematic review, graphical overview of the studies reporting the secondary attack rates, and so on and so forth. That is just how you could create it in Excel without having to worry about any sophisticated software. All right, that's the end of our class. Any lectures? Any questions?
Yes.
All righty.
So when you select and click format and you go back to Excel, do you copy the values, let's say from counter to the top to top formats chat box so that it can take the values?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Can you read? Your voice is a bit muffled.
Hi, Cynthia. Okay. Might be my headphones.
Okay.
So when you select and click format and you go back to the Excel, do you copy the values, let's say from counter to the top format chat box so that it can take the values? Hi, Cynthia, you can also raise your hand and ask your question verbally. Yeah.
So I think the thing is that you just have to watch the video again and practice. I don't think there's any shortcut to I mean, the other alternative is to write code, but you're easier with Excel than trying to write a code. So this is like an easier way of doing it. But again, it's you don't just copy. For whatever value you want to add, you just select the value. You click here and select. You're not copying and pasting. You are just selecting all the things here, and it's been read here automatically. I hope that answers the question. So you're not coming to Excel and copying and pasting. You're just from here. This is linked to this, so it knows that when you're selecting this, these are the values. So it doesn't matter whether you start from down up or up down. It will capture it accordingly.
Can I use data to create such a forest plot?
Of course. But this session is just because not everybody has data and not everybody knows how to write code. So it's like, okay, if you now need to create a forest plot or something like that, and you don't know how to write code, and you don't know how to you don't have access to data, then what do you do? So this is an option where you can explore.
All right. Junaidu, you may ask your question. Okay. Henry?
All right, thank you. Thanks, Doctor. Great work. My question is, apart from medical databases, do you have any other suggested database for professions like social science, marketing, engineering, where we can actually do systematic review? Thank you.
Yeah. I shared some of the databases here that are very inclusive of many other fields. Web of Science, for example, captures many other things that are not necessarily that, that's why it's, Web of Science. Science includes social sciences and all of those things too. So, and many of these other ones too, right? So, PubMed is, well, as the name implies, med, typically of, biomedical literature mostly, but also includes things that may not necessarily be biomedical stuff, but are published in journals that are biomedical. So you might have somebody publish a physics article. So let's say that if you think of the mega journals, for example, like PLOS ONE, they publish everything under the sun and they're indexed in PubMed as well. So, but this list gives you, the other ones are like Web of Science is everything that's science. So you can definitely get articles from there for your work.
Thank you.
In case you want to make your systematic analysis a meta-analysis, how do you get your overall average?
Oh, you have to analyze that, and there's specialized software that do that. So you can use Stata, you can use Python, you can use R, but there are specialized packages that do that. And so so you have to actually analyze the data using those software. So please,
Francis,
you're not using Excel. You're not using Excel to look at average. Just be very clear. You have to use specialized software that accounts for issues of bias and weight and all of that.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, Doc. Mine is not a question, but it's a request. The last lecture we had, I think Doc made it clear that there's an Excel template that you can use to convert the different indicators that probably most study findings are presented. Let's say that you have a relative risk, odds ratio, and what have you. So in case you are doing a systematic review, you need to convert them so that you get a standardized format. But along the line, I was lost on the platform. I mean, on the Zoom meeting platform. So I don't know whether the document was shared. If it was shared, can Doc do me a favor by sharing that document so that I can have access to it? Thank you.
Yeah, that was shared. So maybe Lungile can comment on that.
Yeah, we'll share it again.
All right, great. Okay, are we all set?
Still scrolling to see, okay, how can you make the size of the square or circle be different or better represent the weight?
You format it. Again, these things you best learn them by practicing on your own. Click on a cell. You can format an individual cell. You can format all of them at the same time. You got to click on it and then format it.
Promise.
And if you can write code, you don't have to worry about all of these things. If you can write code properly in Python or R. You absolutely do not have to worry about all of these steps. You can just simply write your code, and if I'm going to create a forest plot, I'll obviously not be doing it in Excel because it's, it's harder for me that way. But this is just for folks who cannot write code, but who need to create those things.
Okay.
They're asking for code.
Sorry? Lungi, what did you say?
No, someone requested the code.
Oh, well, if you're requesting for code, then you should use Excel.
Promise.
That is so funny.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your for the training. I just wanted to ask, is it you made mention that Google Scholar is not part of the databases that should be looked up to, but and I think I understand that, but I just wanted to confirm if we exclude, because I think last teaching that we had, we made mention that there are some studies that might be overlooked if, and they would have been very much, very much important or contributed to the progress of the study that we are, this is the systematic review that we are conducting. And by that, it would have introduced a bias into the study. So, and most papers, maybe all these university press, theses, and all the rest of them, they are not published in peer-reviewed journals, as the case may be. How okay, what can one do about that? Because I know I've done some systematic review, just be getting 1, 2, and another person will tell you, well, he got about 5, 6 papers in relation to that is related to the kind of study that you are conducting. So, and you've done the right search, but it's still not giving you the right thing. So how do you navigate that, sir? Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, let's understand the reasons why Google or Google Scholar are not encouraged. Number one, it's not reproducible. The result, if you sit in, let's say, Lagos and you do a Google search, the results you're getting are quite different from where if you were, let's say, in Boston, right? They are, so first of all, the fact that it's not reproducible is the problem. Secondly, it's not a scientific database. The article you are reading, of course, Google Scholar includes articles that are in other journals that are in PubMed, but it also includes a whole bunch of other things that are just maybe including trash. The article you are reading maybe have been written by a 12-year-old kid in his grandmother's basement, right? How do you vouch for the quality, right? There's no way to do that, right? And so because of those reasons, that is why Cochrane guidelines for systematic reviews is quite clear on what constitutes a scientific database to be used. So those are the reasons why that is so that it's reproducible and you're getting high quality evidence. So the issue is, what do you do if you need to access data? Well, it depends on the field. There are some databases that are more for the, social sciences or for, the physical sciences and so on and so forth. But again, the guideline is just try and make sure that you use at least 2 databases. And then, you can also do a review of, thesis. There are many databases that also capture thesis from, let's say, doctoral students. So you can also review that. You can review, white papers or gray papers that have not yet been, published, like government agencies. It all depends on the field, but the point is that you want to make sure that the work you're putting out is rigorous, right? Especially if you want to register your study in platforms like PROSPERO. Well, they once you indicate that your study has certain criteria, they're not even going to accept it for registration because the study is deemed as low quality because it doesn't meet the minimum standards for scientific approach. So that's why you want to be careful in how you do it. Okay. Any other questions, Lungile?
Okay, Herbert. Herbert, we can't hear you. Okay, might be network. I'll try again. Lion King.
Yeah, Prof. Thank you very much. Today I was actually lost, and then my heart was beating fast when you were at the Excel sheets. But my question here is, when do you start documenting? After we made the first search on PubMed, we had about 300 and something before you clicked on 5 years. So those 300 and something that came first, if you want to document using the Prisma, is it Prisma? Yeah, Prisma chart flow. Please, where do we start? And also, if you are using only PubMed and then you have done a lot of searches, about 3 or 4 searches under the same one, how do you put all of them together to get a narrow paper like 5 or 6 that will qualify for your study?
Okay. So I'll answer your second question first. The goal is not to get to 5 or 6 papers only. The goal is to capture all the papers that meet the inclusion criteria. So that's why. So if you're capturing your study and you have 300 papers, well, that tells you that your research question is too broad. So it's not a question with the search. It's not a problem with the search. It's a problem with your research question. Like that research question we're saying is talking about tobacco use among youth in Africa. That's a very broad topic. Like it has to be narrowed down. Like, what about tobacco use? Which part of Africa? So when you have results that are so expansive, that is just telling you that your research question is too broad. So it's not a problem with the search and you're trying to just find 5 or 6 papers to narrow down to. No, it's just telling you that you have to go and narrow down your research question, right? Now, the first part of your question is, where do you start documentation? It's all about your research question. If your research question was, or your inclusion criteria was this search within the past 10 years, then your documentation starts when you have met that criteria. So in that case, I'm not going to include the 390 studies because I have not yet met my inclusion criteria, right? The inclusion criteria starts when I say studies in the past 10 years, right? Because I'm not reviewing all the studies that were more than 10 years ago because they're not part of my inclusion criteria. I'm only going to start reviewing studies that meet that criteria. Does that make sense?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right, great.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Someone is asking how you got the data set, the one you used.
I just made it up. It's a mock data set.
How can we reference or cite gray literature?
Well, it depends on what the gray literature is. If it's a government agency, you have the website, you can reference it. So it depends on what it is. If it's a database for, most of them will tell you how to reference it already. The fact that it's gray literature doesn't mean that it doesn't have a recommended citation. So on most things, you'll see recommended citation, and so you should use that accordingly.
When are we going to have the Windows demo on how to create a forest plot?
Well, you can try it on your own first. It's gonna be very similar to what we have said. So try it on your own, and the principle, the principles on it's still Windows. But if you don't figure it out, we'll do it very quickly at the next session.
Okay. How do you access the gray literature? Please give specifics.
We just answered that question. We said it could be government agencies, it could be thesis, it could be other publications from institutes. So that question has been answered already.
Is LibGen a database?
Is LinkedIn?
LibGen or LibGen? LIBGEN.
It depends on the social sciences or which field you are. So you have to search. You have to make sure that it's the fact that you have a collection of papers doesn't mean it's a a recognized database. You have, for example, academia or there are millions of sites that are just collections of papers. That doesn't mean they are databases with proper processes for indexing and referencing. So it's your job to make sure that what you are trying to cite meets the minimum standards for what is considered a scientific database.
SMB, you have a question? Your hand is up.
Yes, please. Thank you. Doc, you've been doing wonderfully well. Thank you so much. You're really diffusing knowledge to everyone here. But when you were doing the search, during the mesh search, I saw you check full text. I wanted to know why you had to select the full text instead of just leaving it like that, so that once we are searching, we know what to do.
So full text means that we don't only have the abstract, but we also have the whole manuscript. So remember that what's in PubMed is anything that is indexed. So I'm the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Tobacco-Induced Diseases. And sometimes we have, let's say, conference proceedings, and we publish those conference abstracts in the journal. Now, because the journal is indexed in PubMed, those abstracts will also appear in PubMed when you search. But when you're doing a systematic review, you want to review the whole study, not just the abstract. So by saying I want just full text, I'm saying don't give me things that are just abstract and don't have the full manuscript. I want only things that have the full manuscript, because that is what a systematic review is. Does that make sense? So we're excluding things that are just abstracts and not necessarily the full text.
Sorry. Wofai?
Yeah, hi there, Prof. Good evening from Nigeria. I just wanted to add my voice to those who are asking for a demo, because I was going through Excel on Windows, and it looked nothing like what you have on my.
Really?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. You said it looks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You say it looks different.
Yeah, completely different. So there is a series 1 on the left, and then something else you need to drag and drop on the right. But
okay.
Yeah, there was also what the lady said. I think the data, something, I can't remember, change or charge data or change data, I can't remember. That was the only thing similar to yours, but the whole pane looked different. So a lot of us got disconnected from there. And a majority of people are Microsoft.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fine. We'll cover that next week, but it's going to be at supersonic speed.
Absolutely, yeah, that'll be fine. We'll be on our computers.
Okay, super. Yeah. We'll do that. So you can and if possible, if I have some time, I can also record it beforehand and share, so you guys have time to practice it before the class.
That'll be brilliant. Yeah. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Okay. Is it worth it when one is left with only 4 eligible publications for narrative synthesis or meta-analysis after a systematic literature search? Is there a minimum acceptable number?
We answered that question last week. No, there's no minimum acceptable number. It's just making sure that you have done your due diligence and you've captured all the studies that are there. Now, if you come up with just 2 papers or 1 paper, obviously that doesn't make sense. It's like there's not enough literature for you to even be doing a systematic review in the first place. So, but it's all of this is contextual.
Thanks. Please, Prof, we need more hands-on training on PubMed. Some of us are still stuck at Google Scholar. It's a great tool. I'm beginning to love it. Okay. Prof Hamidu.
Thank you very much, Prof. Well done. Thank you, Prof. I have 2 demands, Prof. The Excel link you say you're going to give us, and then the other databases that we can also use. Those are the 2 demands.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anything for you?
Demands. Okay. Right. It seems there are no further questions.
All right, super.
Regarding those who did not receive their certificates last week, if you were here, we will share a link, let's say maybe after the third session, so that you can all those who have not received certificates from the first session, second session, and the last session can complete it, and then you can all receive your certificates at once. But I've shared the link for today. Please make sure you complete it before you leave. And please don't ask for it via WhatsApp privately tomorrow or later. Okay, it seems there are no... Thank you, Prof. Hamidou. And thanks everyone else who has been helping out with resharing the links. Appreciate you all. Okay, it seems there are no questions.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Prof.
All right.
Agaku. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to share your certificates when you receive them on LinkedIn. And yeah, our content, when we post slides, please engage, like, comment, repost. We appreciate those who have been doing so. That's our marketing strategy, and we just request that you help us with that. Thank you.